Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Horror Corner. I'm your host, Sean Patrick Erschen, and this week we are doing another movie review, just in time for Halloween. It's Trick or Treat. Written and directed by Michael Dougherty, and produced by Bryan Singer. Starring Anna Paquin, Dylan Baker, and Bryan Cox. Now this is a anthology type movie, all stories based around Halloween. And all four stories are kind of interwoven together, kind of loosely, different characters throughout the film kind of like bump into each other and things like that. And of course, one of the central characters in the film, who's a young kid by the name of Sam. And he looks like a little trick-or-treater, in his Halloween costume, and he has like a creepy burlap sack. It looks almost like a potato sack mask, like you see Jason in Friday the 13th Part 2 or Dark Night of the Scarecrow, similar to that. But it just looks really creepy, and all four stories are kind of tied together by him. You kind of see his ominous presence in the background, and it's really creepy. Also, what we see is something similar to Creepshow, which is probably my favorite horror anthology film of all time. You see these comic book strips, throughout the film, and it's really cool. It gives you a real Creepshow kind of feeling, and I love that. I'm not sure if there were Trick or Treat comics before the film came out, but it's just a really nice touch. I really enjoy that. And another thing is this movie was kind of trapped in developmental hell for a couple of years. And when it finally got released, it was kind of like on a small scale, released in a few theaters here and there. It wasn't like a wide release, which is unfortunate because I think it really would have been a big hit, especially for people to watch around Halloween time. People do anyway, but I think it would have been a big theatrical hit. But it is what it is. It's still definitely a cult classic. Indeed, all horror fans know the film and love it, as do I. So the film starts with a young couple at Halloween. They're decorating their house and stuff. And they've got these ghosts set up outside, made of bed sheets. And they're just coming home from a Halloween party, and they're kind of buzzed. But we see the wife and the husband trying to decorate the house for Halloween. And we see this character in the background's kind of like watching, And as the woman decorates, one of the bed sheets comes out at her, and it turns out it's someone trying to kill her, And it turns out to be Sam, the young kid character with the burlap sack mask. And he cuts her up real good, and he uses this Halloween lollipop that he bites in half and stabs a girl with it and carves her up real good. So that's kind of the opening of the film. And then we meet up with these teenage girls. One of them being Anna Paquin, and they're getting ready to go to a big Halloween bash party. And Anna Paquin's character is dressed up as Little Red Riding Hood. And the others are dressed up like Disney princesses like Cinderella and Snow White and whatever. So they're ready to party, have a blast, get buzzed, get laid, And apparently we find out that Anna Paquin's character is the virgin of the film, like you've seen in so many slasher films, and it's kind of funny. And kind of throughout the film, as the stories are going on, the other stories, we see her kind of walking down the street during a Halloween parade and stuff. She's getting ready to meet up with her friends later on at the party. She's just kind of roaming the streets, kind of looking for love, kind of, It's a really, really good movie. So, and the first, like, real story is we meet this high school principal played by Dylan Baker. And he catches this kid trying to steal his candy, and this kid's like a real punk. He's been around town smashing jack-o'-lanterns and stuff, you know, stealing people's candy. And he's like, oh, that's not going to be good for your diabetes, kid. But he knows the kid from school, you know, he's a troublemaker. So he's like, sit down, join me, we'll carve some jack-o'-lanterns. And we see him grabbing the butcher knife and acting kind of mysterious, carving up the butcher knife. And he's like, here, just have some candy, you know, he gives him candy. So they're just sitting on the stoop together, you know, carving jack-o'-lanterns. And all of a sudden the kid starts coughing, like, you know. And the dude's like, you alright? He's like, whoa, he starts puking his brains out, you know, and it's going everywhere. And it turns out he poisoned the candy. And throughout the story, he's like telling the kid about Halloween. At Halloween, the dead come back for a visit, you know. And another tradition about Halloween is always check your candy. Ha ha ha, you know. I love it. But I won't give too much away about that story. That's one of the stories. And then another story is this group of kids out trick-or-treating, these little kids. And they're just going around town trick-or-treating, and one of the girls is like autistic. And they're just friends with her, you know. So they take her out trick-or-treating. She's dressed up like a witch. And another girl tells the tale of a legend of the town. It was called the Halloween School Bus Massacre. Ooh, ghost stories. And they start showing that flashback to the events that happened that day. These kids are all in the school bus with their Halloween masks on. They look really creepy, by the way. The awesome mask designs that these kids are wearing. These aren't your cheap, like, dime store Halloween masks. They look like really cool. Obviously, the costume designer of the film did a fantastic job, and these masks look, and these costumes throughout the film look really creepy and cool. But apparently the kids on the bus are kind of like mentally challenged. And the driver decides he doesn't want to take the same route, the normal route to school. So he just takes off and goes on his own. And one of the kids starts flipping out. He's like, wrong way, wrong way, wrong way. And he starts freaking out, you know. And as the dude stops the bus, he goes around and starts handing out Halloween candy to all the kids. And then when you look closer, you can see that the kids are all chained to their seats. So you know something bad's got to happen. You know, he's got bad intentions, this guy. And as he's doing that, that kid's that was freaking out before, saying wrong turn, decides to take control of the bus. He goes up front and takes control of the bus and starts driving it. And he drives them right off a cliff. So as that story goes, the kids decide they're going to have a little fun and bring down these jack-o'-lanterns as like kind of in memory of the kids that died that day. And they go down to like try and look for the bus and stuff. So they take this like elevator shaft down, almost like a mine shaft elevator thing, down the cliff down to where the bus crashed. And they start investigating. And things start going wrong, like the kids start disappearing and stuff. And they all start freaking out, and all that's left is this the autistic girl dressed up like the witch. She's like, where is everybody? Where is everybody? And she finds, like, they're all dead, you know? They're all, like, zombies and stuff, you know? Like, the other kids are, like, dead, and some of the other kids are, like, zombies. It's like those kids that died in the school bus were like turned out to be zombies. But of course that was just a prank that the other kids were playing. They were wearing Halloween masks, but things get a lot darker from there. I won't say what happens, but you definitely gotta tune in to see what happens. That's just a little small portion of the story. I won't tell you when it gets real dark. But another story is one of these girls gets stalked in the alley during the Halloween parade. And this guy's got this mask, something straight out of the Stanley Kubrick movie. What was that? The one where they all dress up like in the masquerade. Eyes Wide Shut. I couldn't think of it for a minute. He looks like she's straight out of the Eyes Wide Shut movie with that masquerade style mask. And then making out in the middle of the alley. And he like bites her. He turns out to be a vampire. So there's a vampire stuck in the streets on Halloween. This dude dressed up like he's going to a masquerade ball. So that's going on too, and then we meet up with Anna Paquin later on too, and she's walking through the Halloween parade, and the stalker dude catches up with her, this vampire, and he starts stalking her down and tries to attack her, and then we see this like body in the Little Red Riding Hood, that red coat, and the girls finally meet up with her at the party, and they find her body laying there, or so it seems. Ooh. Or so it seems to be her body. So I won't talk about those events either, because I want you guys to see the movie, because it's absolutely awesome, and it's quite bloody too, I will add. And it's great, just like those classic anthology films like Creepshow, and series like Tales from the Crypt, or The Vault of Horror, or Tales from the Dark Side, things like that. I love that stuff, and this is a great example of that. It's one of the best, and it's an absolute great movie to watch on Halloween, because it absolutely captures the season like 100%. I haven't seen many movies that capture the spirit of the season of Halloween like this film. And it's just absolutely awesome. All the acting performances are top-notch. The film is expertly filmed. You know, the direction is fantastic. The cinematography is fantastic. It's got a great score. I love the character of Sam. He's kind of like a new icon almost. That's if they make more trick-or-treat films, you know. I think he'd make a great icon like a Chucky or, you know. I think he'd be a great choice for like a new horror icon. This kid Sam, he's really creepy. And I would love to see more of these films. I hope they make some more, you know. God willing. So guys, that's my review of Trick or Treat. So definitely grab it on DVD or Blu-ray or whatever you have to do. You absolutely have to get this film. And it's real easy to find, and it's real cheap. But boy, is it worth every minute, every penny, because it's an absolutely excellent horror film. One of the best horror anthology films of all time, in my opinion. Starring Dylan Baker, Anna Paquin, Bryan Cox. So guys, running by Trick or Treat, and thank you for joining me, Sean Patrick Erschen, in the Horror Corner. Tune in and stay scared.